effectively manage the transition from one business model to another, specifically going from a broad service business to a narrowly focused consultancy. I might unmute you, Danny, here, if that's okay, so you can explain a little bit more, and then people should be able to help you, okay?
Good morning, all. Hi, Shweta. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a big question, and I guess I'm not expecting a kind of direct answer on this, but the idea is to go from a sort of generic, broad service-based, well, creative business, where we're kind of doing everything from strategy to design to build, to effectively selling a product. Well, we're productizing something. We're calling it the Huddle Hack. We've been selling it for about 5 years, but essentially it's a workshop type product that offers, just looking at the time and value curve behind you, Shweta, it kind of offers a lot up front, a lot of value up front, and that's kind of where we want to play. So the new model will rely less on fixed overheads and resource in-house, and it will be more going back to our roots, which is more of a collective, collaborative model where we're pulling people together on specific projects, and that's partly in recognition of a project-based business like ours, with the peaks and troughs of winning business and then having to kind of scramble to deliver that business. So the feast and famine type scenario, we're trying to avoid that, and so kind of that's, hopefully that's a clear enough description of where we are at the moment.
Cool. So guys, you just understood what Danny or where Danny's coming from. So what's the best way to manage transition from one business model to another? And specifically in his case, when he wants to go from broad service business to actually offering consultancy. So what you need, also Danny, just, I think I'm on the right track when I say this, that actually it's not one business model to another, because consultancy is part of your current business model. So you're simply saying that I want to focus on the first bit and not worry so much about the build and design and all that bit. So it's more the strategy and consulting side of it, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
That actually, and this is again for people on the call, that if you look at your full business model, you will realize that there are certain parts of the business which are very high margin, and then there are other parts of the business which actually cannibalize that high margin. Yeah, because that's how you've defined it. And there are moments in business when you can actually redefine based on what is your work-life priority. And I'm making a general point here, and it's not easy to switch. So what Danny is talking about, saying, yeah, we want to focus in a certain way, it's not easy because there's so many societal norms attached to saying what's actually a proper agency or what's actually a proper business. And funnily enough, I'll tell you the kind of questions which people ask, saying, oh, so where is your office? Oh, so how many team members do you have? Oh, okay, how many of them are on your payroll? And we still ask these questions, you know, rather than asking, okay, what profit do you make, or what's your turnover? And these are such wrong questions in today's world, when actually the economy is moving towards gig economy. You want to keep things as fluid and as variable as possible, and there are people making huge profits and huge impact in the marketplace without actually getting lost in fixed costs or your traditional business models. So again, you have to identify with what lens you're seeing the world and the business in its true sense. But till the time the business is giving you good positive cash flow, and yes, look, another thing I want to talk about it. So when Danny was discussing this, his main concern was that actually if I move towards consulting, and if he's the main brand in that, then is business really an asset? Or does it become more of a self-employment? Okay, and putting it in a very, very simple, straightforward manner. And the point is, what you need to understand, everyone on the call, is that yes, you can have one entity which is a high cash flow generating entity, right? It might not work without you fully, or it might not have a huge EBITDA multiplier of 4 or 5 or whatever, you know, 6. But the point is, it generates good cash flow, which you can then take to deploy in your other assets in your portfolio, which could be your property, it could be your stocks, it could be you know, investing in new ventures, new startups, or having another asset proper business, right? So it's how you build your portfolio. But whatever you're building, you need cash flow for that. You need positive money coming into the business. Now, there could be an asset that you're sitting on, but if that asset is not really maximizing its potential, and it's for everyone on the call, I'm making a general comment here. If it's not maximizing its value, then the asset value is also impacted, and the time and energy that goes into it is just incredible. Also, the issue with some business models is that it's actually relying on one or two big projects, and they are the ones who are contributing. And I have clients who I'm working with right now, and other coaches are working on right now. One or two contracts are contributing to 60%, 65% of the business. And it feels amazing. The businesses are like huge. It feels amazing till the time the contracts are there. But as soon as they go like that, the business just crumbles. And it's a scary position to be in. So the constant effort is, how do we reduce concentration risk? But that's the nature of the agency world, and that's one figure one needs to be mindful of, which is what Danny was saying, famine and feast. You feel good, and then boom, contract finished, and you're like, okay, again, hard work. So it's about sitting back and really reflecting and saying, what do I want? What kind of personal life? What kind of cash flow? What kind of business criteria, which is important to me as a person? And then let the business be defined around you and not the other way around. I always say this on a couple of levels. One is the business has to be around you and not the other way around. The team needs to adapt around the business and not the other way around, right? These are fundamental life philosophies that you need to focus on. Looking at what we're talking about here, Danny, I've reflected on this, slept over it, mulled over it, thought about it, and actually I feel confident about this because this is where your core competence lies. This is where you enjoy the work, and it's a high margin and low fixed costs. So on many, many fronts, I'm getting ticks in my boxes, and I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Do I have to change things significantly to do this? Answer is actually no. It's the same target market, maybe a little bit of fine tuning, but it's the same proposition. And it's just that we're scaling up one thing, which we are absolutely awesome at, which we will enjoy, and it's a high margin. And that's it. You will start seeing the results versus diffusing ourselves, trying to do everything just because that's how we did 10 years back, and now we need to just carry on with it. So it takes a lot of courage to change the direction of the ship, to say, no, actually, this is where I want to go, and this is what I would enjoy. So we'll talk more about this in depth, but I thought I'll just make some more important points for people to just reflect on.